So this week we're going to be discussing the Battle of Hastings.
Yes.
And then next week we'll be back to our normal time on Thursday at 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Thursday the 21st. And we'll be discussing...
I think we should do the Battle of Sekigahara. It's in Japan.
Ooh, the Battle of...
S-E-K.
S-E-K...
I-G...
G...
A-H...
A-H...
A-R-A.
A-R.
It was the culmination of this massive era of war
Okay.
In Japan that up until then Japan had been kind of ruled by a bunch of different warlords and got unified.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
What
It's a
year?
big deal.
Let's go with what year?
That was in 1600.
1600.
And that happened on October 21st.
All right, perfect. Well, that'll be next week, October 21st, so we'll be doing that.
Yeah.
But this week we're discussing the Battle of Hastings. We have 1 hour to discuss.
Yeah, don't put it there.
The visual works better for us in the room here.
Yeah, we gotta have sands through the hourglass.
Now, as this week is a little earlier than our plan is to do it on Thursdays, I have not gone through the effort of putting the previous one up on the YouTube for other people to view. I also didn't go through the comments. Do we have any comments? Any but actuallys? I know that people were upset about.
Oh, there was a one that I just remembered.
Oh, yeah.
Because we joked about the birth of Jesus was the year 0.
Yes.
And it was pointed out there was no year 0.
There was no year. There was no year 0.
There was no year 0.
Technically, in the year 1, also they didn't call it 1.
It's basically the daylight savings time. It's like, but we lost a whole year.
Oh.
We went from 1 to 1. That's a shift of 2 years. -1 to 1.
But they didn't. When did they actually start doing that? Counting the years using the calendar we are currently using.
Well, there was the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah.
And then there was a secondary calendar. Somebody can actually this and correct me, because there was the Julian calendar, there was the Gregorian calendar. There've been a few different calendars that obviously.
But when did we?
All based off
when did we start that? When did they start using that in day to day?
I want to say that's when the Romans switched over to Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been the big push. That's something I'd have to do my research on.
All right.
I want to do my research on it. Maybe we'll do that in a future episode.
At some point, they started saying, "Hey, this is year 20.
Yep.
Get with it."
Get
Well,
with it.
wasn't at year 20.
Yep. I feel
So
like
they started at year 200.
everybody just knew it was.
Yeah.
Like, I was born in the year 642. No, you were born in the year 5.
At some point, we got on the same page.
There was a big shift in a couple of wars was, you're not on the right year.
Oh.
And it was, like, during the 30 Years' War in Germany, people were like, no, we're doing the Gregorian calendar. These guys were like, no, we're doing this calendar.
Man, wouldn't that suck to train your whole life as a soldier and then die on the battlefield fighting over what year it is?
I mean, yeah, I think it would suck to just die on the battlefield.
Sure.
Probably not
I mean,
great,
I'm not dismissing any military deaths.
no, but that's a
Some
particularly stupid reason
Some
to
seem less worthwhile than others.
It's Tuesday. It's Wednesday.
Dang. All right.
They took their days very seriously.
So the thing we did learn, we should look at that. Well, if we're gonna say we're gonna address the comments, we should look at the comments afterwards.
Yeah.
And we will. I apologize. Still new at this, and also we switched up the day. So
it's my fault completely. I'm blame my brother.
I can only blame Will's brother.
Yeah, it's his fault.
It's his
Your fault, Michael.
All right. Well, our clock is ticking right now,
And
we
haven't
are
talked about it at all.
discussing the Battle of Hastings,
Battle of Hastings.
which took place in Hastings.
Hastings-ish.
I don't know where Hastings is.
All right.
It sounds British.
It is British.
Okay.
So, the Battle of Hastings was the kind of...
It also sounds like a pudding. Is that a thing? Hasty
be a
pudding?
Hastings
Hastings pudding? All right.
Put in the comments if that's a pudding.
Okay.
It was originally called a different name. They actually called it the Hoary Apple Tree Battle.
Oh.
H-O-A-R.
Yeah.
Tough,
Hoary.
old, big, nasty
Yeah.
tree. Because technically Hastings was nearby, but there are a few other towns nearby. Hastings is just where William of Normandy camped his army, and then he rode out and had this big battle.
Oh, it sounds like a spoiler right there. Did he win?
We're going to find out.
Seems like
Sounds like, because he
the person who gets to name the battle gets to...
probably won, usually.
All right. I need to back up as well. We need, when is this? When is this?
This is 1066.
1066.
October 14th was the specific date.
All right.
Sometime in the morning. Lasted till dusk.
Oh, just a daily battle. Just one day.
Just one day. Just
One
one day
day.
of fighting.
You know what? That's nice. Get done. Get home in time for dinner.
Yep.
It's a good day.
If you get to go home.
Sure.
Of course, the crows are always happy. They eat well after battle.
All right, hit me with the deets.
So the deets, the main combatants here are William of Normandy. He was a Duke of Normandy. We'll explain what that means in a sec. William Normandy. And then he's fighting against a guy named Harold Godwinson, who's the king of the English.
Godwinson?
Godwinson. His dad was Godwin.
Yes.
Godwinson. Harold Godwinson. Not to be confused, there was another guy involved in this whole fight whose name was also Harold, but he was Norwegian, and his name was Harold Hardrada.
Harold Hardrada.
And he did not make it to this battle.
Oh.
There was another battle right before the Battle of Hastings, like a day before, like a week before.
We don't care about that.
No, but it's important leading up to it to explain some things. So the reason this whole thing happened is because England had kind of a tumultuous, messy history before this. England was, for a very long time, ruled by people called the Bretons, and then they were conquered roughly-ish, partly, kind of, sort of, maybe, and then the Angles, and they had a few other groups, and the Celts are the overall group.
Okay.
The Romans showed up, and then the Romans couldn't really conquer them, and then the Romans left during the Roman Empire collapse. So then they kind of became their own people. And then the Saxons said, that's nice land, we want to move there. And the Saxons are kind of from Germany, like northwestern Europe, but not quite in Scandinavia.
The Saxon of the Anglo-Saxon.
Yes. And so the Saxons moved over, and at first they showed up as like mercenaries to help fight mutual enemies, and then also started to settle. And then there were some attempts at conquest, but didn't really work out.
Okay.
And then they just kind of became one people.
Yeah.
And they were the Anglo-Saxons.
Why are we fighting? We could farm
we
instead.
just farm and stuff. This is stupid. Well, and then the Danes started raiding sometime later in the 800s. Vikings, which Viking comes from just the term meaning explorer.
Oh.
So
in what language?
That would be in Norse, Danish, actually. Danes. The Danes were the majority, so it was their language.
All right.
So they, if Vikinger, there's a little R at the end. It's Viking with a little R at the end. Vikinger. They sailed there, started pilfering, wars with the Vikings. Stuff got kind of chaotic. The Vikings eventually take a chunk of England, then never leave. England tries to kick them out. For like 200 years, it's kind of this uneasy peace. Then the Vikings come back and conquer the whole country.
All of England.
All of England.
At one point, all of England was conquered by Vikings.
Vikings. The Vikings actually owned Denmark, Norway, and England at the same time under the King Canute.
Yeah, monopoly.
They had a monopoly. And they would have had it for longer, too, but Canute's son died young, and Canute's heirs were not great, so...
A side note, unrelated to anything, is that my family history, my genealogy looked at and such. I have someone named Canute in my family.
Oh,
a great grandfather.
Oh,
Canute.
Not great like great King Canute, because that'd be kind of cool.
I don't think so. No, not that far back. I think it's only a couple grades.
It only goes so far. Canute's kind of a legendary, almost mythological figure. He's just after they stopped having like super legendary kings and just have very historical kings. And he was actually fairly well regarded by the English. He ruled for like 30 years and they didn't hate him.
Okay.
Then he died, and then there was some chaos that fell out of that. Then his heir died. And then the next guy was Edward the Confessor. Oh. Edward the Confessor is an important character because he was raised in Normandy. And Normandy is a part of France.
France. I know that.
Okay. So
the Confessor.
We'll come right back to that because we need to know that Edward the Confessor is this king, okay?
The king of
England. He's now the king of the English. He's the king of the English, right? Yeah, and then we'll get into where this is going. So Normandy is kind of a weird place because just like England had a big Viking problem. All right, so this is part of.
It's like a rodent infestation. We got a Viking problem.
Sorry
about it. Did we spray for it? Make sure you patch up all the holes.
And if they would have worked together, maybe they could have fixed it. Because the French were like, there's these guys in these boats, and they keep killing people and taking stuff. Do you guys have a problem like that in England?
Oh, but they didn't.
And the English did, but they didn't work together.
They didn't work together.
So they all. And the Vikings actually started bouncing back and forth across the English Channel, like, oh, we'll raid here, we'll raid there. There's summer here, winter there.
Oh,
it's nicer.
Yeah.
But the Viking raids got to be so bad that the grandson of one Charlemagne. I believe we talked about him
That's earlier.
Couldn't handle him. Could not handle the Vikings. And Charlemagne said one of the great threats to the kingdom would be these northern invaders.
Oh, he
knew it
knew.
was going to be a problem. But his heirs were not up to the task.
He kept saying, "Winter's coming."
Yep.
But they never listened to him.
Nobody wanted to build
Should have built
wall,
a big giant wall.
ice wall, maybe some boats to fight the boats.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody built boats. They tried.
They had like 1,000 years to plan.
They had time.
Right.
Did not plan well. So the Vikings show up, start raiding, and they're like, "Hey, our boats can go down rivers, and their capital's on a river. We'll just sail down there and burn Paris, and just do whatever we want." And the Franks didn't really have a response to that, so eventually they just did what everybody did and gave them a lot of money to go away.
Ah.
Well, one of these Vikings was named Rollo, and Rollo said, give me land.
And a caramely center.
And a delicious chocolate coating and a caramely center. And I shall be
I love
happy."
Rollos.
Rollos are really good.
Rollos are really good.
Like I always like the copper foil.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice. It's
Makes
classy.
Yeah.
It's a fancy delicious.
It is a really fancy. Not like that gutter Twix that
yeah,
people eat.
that trash Carmelo that tries to be a Rollo, but it doesn't quite satisfy. Anyway, so this is Rollo the Viking.
Okay.
He
Still
says,
delicious.
In lieu of maybe taste of chicken, I hear. In lieu of money, he says, "Give me land, and I'll keep the other Vikings away. I'm a very famous warrior. I've got an army. Just let me settle.
Good.
The land where I'm from sucks. Can't farm.
It's cold.
It's cold.
I'm sick of
This is
losing.
nice. We try to raid. We just raid snow and rocks. It's stupid."
The people from the northern climes, did they have wine? Did they get wine?
We did want to talk about this, didn't we? So up north in like Viking land, grapes don't grow well.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
So no.
But I've read like Norse mythology, and they're always talking about drinking wine.
They have mead, which is honey wine,
Oh,
and they have lots of that.
okay.
So that was their drink of choice.
Honey wine.
A few cultures developed mead, probably for the same reasons. It's too cold to grow grapes, and they're like, "This honey tastes good. You can get drunk."
Okay, good.
I have no idea how to ferment mead.
Oh, yeah.
I think a friend of ours, Maggie, knows. Didn't she talk about mead? She talked about mead with me once.
Maybe.
Comment if you know how to make mead.
Yeah.
But
Make a note. How to make mead.
How to make mead. But it is a fermented honey, and people can get very drunk off it. So anyway, this Rollo guy, he takes over northwestern France, becomes Normandy. His descendants. So basically, the Normans are part Viking, part Frank. They have the Viking warrior spirits and some of the pagan belief structure, but that starts to go away. So they become Christianized because they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll become Christians, sure, whatever. We don't care. Do we still get to kill people and take their stuff?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay, cool."
Okay.
But then they also learn how.
It's not really the Christian way, is it?
No,
I mean,
no, but it was
technically.
effective. If you want to take a people who are just really good at fighting and killing people, and you just want to be like, "But could you be Christians?" What is the rules? Don't kill as many Christians.
Just to us. Don't kill us.
Kill everybody else.
All right.
And the Vikings were like, whatever, we don't care. We'll fight. And they like to fight. But now they're in France where they have land, and they become very expert cavalry. Experts on horseback.
Oh.
So Normandy becomes not just like a little part of France. They become such renowned warriors because they take Frankish tradition and Viking tradition and mix the two together perfectly, that they're basically unstoppable. Like, I mean, a full massive country could probably do something, but the French king winds up having to kind of go, "Okay, so this is what I want to do. How do you feel, Normandy?"
Wow.
And the Norman dukes are like, "You can do what you want."
It is hard to fight horses on boats.
It is very hard to fight horses on boats. And that was a problem, too, for the Vikings would land, and then they'd run on shore, no boats, and no horses, and then the cavalry would come up, beat them up, and then they'd ride away.
Okay.
So that was a big part of that. That was why it was so effective. You could defend your coastal land very easily with cavalry. Just ride up and down, hit everybody as they come off the boat.
Yeah.
So the Normans become powerful. In some points, powerful enough to challenge the king. Anytime the king wants to have something done, he kind of has to go to Normandy. He eventually, one of the kings, tries to break up the Norman control by kidnapping the young heir. He said, "I'll just raise him in Paris. He'll be my protege."
He kidnapped him, but nicely.
Nicely-ish. It's like this is under the pretext that he must learn the ways of kingship.
Oh, okay.
And if you try to take him, not going to be tolerated.
Sure, for your own good. Come here.
Unfortunately, the Normans didn't appreciate that, and the Normans, being very renowned warriors, just gathered together a bunch of the townsfolk and some of their fellow knights and walked into the palace and said, "Give him back, or we'll kill you."
They did a Liam Neeson. Give me back my son.
Yep, give me my son.
Or was that Mel Gibson? Give me back my
I
son.
thought that's Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson. But Liam Neeson, it was a mix because it's like,
Sure.
I just want you to know I have a particular set of skills.
And a bunch of horses on.
And horses. Now give me back my son! That was the two. So they go back to the king's palace. The king's like, the kid's fine. Hands him the king, or the kid.
Yep.
Ride the kid home. Safe.
How old was the kid at the time?
He was like 5.
Okay.
He was,
So a kid.
This was a kid. Because there's the recorded thing where he held the child up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
said, "He's fine. He's doing look." It's kind of a Michael Jackson, but not. When I was reading about this, it's like he held him up, like, "I'll drop him. I'll drop him."
No, I'll just show you.
No,
Okay.
he's fine. He's fine. Don't kill me. Don't kill
He
me.
likes this.
So this is kind of an interesting look at, you think kings, they're in their fortresses, they're untouchable. Not so much right there.
Yeah.
Charlemagne, if you tried to mess with Charlemagne, you're not battering down the doors. His army will crush you. His son less so, his grandson less so. It gets less solid for a while. So now we've got the Normans, this warrior people. And they've just dealt with this kind of crazy king trying to usurp their power. Well, that guy's eventual heir is William. William is inheriting the Duchy of Normandy at a time where the new king is also trying to kind of pull the same thing.
Is that William the Conqueror?
Eventually.
Oh.
He hasn't conquered yet.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I got the right.
He hasn't conquered yet, but he is. He
Okay.
is. He is William the Conqueror.
Spoilers. Sorry.
Spoiler. He's going to conquer something.
Okay.
So he has inherited this land of great warriors, and he's only like 12. So
This is the guy that kidnapped, brought him back.
this is a different one.
Different one.
This
Oh,
is
I
just
missed
like
it.
the Normans had this happen multiple times.
Oh.
This is kind of to paint the picture of people were so nervous about Normandy having too much power in France. They kept trying to you can't be king. I believe that was his grandfather who was kidnapped at a young age.
Don't worry, kid. Everyone gets kidnapped in his
Everyone
family.
gets kid. And then his dad was like, "That ain't happening. I'm not getting kidnapped." And he was a very famous warrior. They all were.
Yep.
And then William inherits at a young age. So there's kind of this tug of war of, well, we can't let the French king get him because the last time that happened,
Hey.
we had some issues. We also don't want this person to have him and this person to have him until he becomes an adult, which is usually around 16 is when you're seen as like an adult. You can handle your own stuff.
That's when the crown fits.
Yeah, so exactly. You got to grow into it. They do a test every year.
Sure, yeah.
If it goes past the years,
That's
can't
right.
be king.
Nope.
But if it fits,
But you could be a baby New Year.
he could be a baby New Year. That's a good reference. I appreciate that. So William eventually comes into his own, and he gets a good group of friends around him. And at this time, having good friends is very important because good friends are usually warriors with some land and some money. So he gets all these guys
And on your side. Too.
and on your side.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's important.
and then through marriages and different negotiations, because that's another key. You're married to my sister. You can't be a dick to me.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-mm. We're family.
We're family now.
We're family, bro. You can't stab me. Also, would you care to, invade this country with me?
Yeah. We'll go to Olive Garden afterwards.
That's right. So William's coming up, and he's continuing doing what his family does, which is solidifying their hold in Normandy. But he's hungry for more. He wants more. So his grandfather's sister is the mother of Edward the Confessor.
William's grandfather's sister is the mother of Edward the Confessor.
Makes them, I believe, second cousins.
Okay.
Okay? I think that's second cousins.
Okay.
Not positive. This
Might be cousin once removed.
cousin once removed, possibly.
One of those two. I
One
get
of
those
those.
two
It's one of
confused.
those. I forget the exact
Yeah.
terminology, but his grandfather's sister was married to the king of England.
Okay.
They had Edward. Edward grew up in Normandy, so he has two ties to the Normans, right?
Yeah.
Now Edward dies.
Bad luck.
No children.
Oh.
No children, death of a king. That's really bad because then you're like, so who's the king?
Yeah.
And even in England at the time, where you kind of had like there was a council that elected the king before that. This is gone. This is like the lords all go, okay, yeah, you're the king. Yep. They don't vote on you. They
Right.
just kind of have a big ceremony accepting you because now the monarchy is family to family. Well, the problem is Edward doesn't really have a clear will. He doesn't say, this is my heir, this is who's taking over after me. And it causes a problem.
How old was Edward when he died?
Oh.
Roughly, was he an old man?
He wasn't an old man, but I mean, people didn't live super long.
Either way, if people get your affairs in order, write a will.
Yeah. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. It'll save the people you love trouble.
So here we go.
Just like this moment
That's what I
in
thought.
history.
So he actually lived a pretty long life. He was 60 to 63.
Didn't have any kids.
No kids.
Didn't have a will.
Didn't have no.
63.
63.
Edward get you.
He was in charge of England for 24 years. So he's had time.
He's had time to do
He's had
all those things.
time.
Was he married? Was there such?
Got a wife.
He's got a wife.
It says right here, Edith. But I
Edith.
don't believe he had any children.
Stifle it, Edith.
And he didn't have an heir. So the problem starts to come in immediately after his death.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the throne. So because I mentioned earlier, the Vikings conquered England a while back. The current king of Norway goes, we have a claim. Then of the local magnates, the local lords of England, Harold Godwinson. Godwin was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
He says, I got a claim.
Mm-mm.
And then William of Normandy goes, I got a claim.
X.
And this is only on the Norman side, so this is probably propaganda.
Okay.
But apparently, it is known that William made a journey to visit Edward in court. And Edward had lots of Norman friends because he was raised in Normandy. Because he had to be raised there because that was the only way he was going to survive. So his family got chased out of England, basically. There was some tension. So he brings back some Norman warriors as bodyguards. He's like, oh, yeah, you guys could be jerks to me. Good luck. Here's my friend, Sven. Big axe.
You met Sven and his axe?
He's a pretty...
He's on a horse that can swim.
Yep. That's how they actually get there.
Mm-hmm.
They just ride their horses across the English Channel.
Straight across.
50 miles, they don't care. Strong horses in Normandy. They bred them for that. They're like, well, we're used to sailing on the boat, so now we're just going to ride the horse on the boat. I don't know what accent I'm doing.
That is a Swedish kind of.
Swedish, German, weird. Yeah, we're going to drive on the boat. That German, bad German. It's like James Bond German.
But we actually don't even know what the other accent was.
No, it's totally different back then.
They were probably speaking some hybrid of French and...
It would be like a... kind of a Germanic sounding French. Yeah, the language of the time is very, very odd. Just like Anglo-Saxon is an interesting thing because it's the root of English, but only like... I read up on this. Only 27% of English words are actually based on Anglo-Saxon words.
Oh.
But it's the overwhelming majority of our daily speech.
Oh, okay.
Like all the common words, all the simple, everyday, you use them words. Because so many other words are pulled from... Well, of course, the French would have a word for this specific type of making wine.
Yes.
And of course...
But wine, we know that word.
Yes. So, of course, the Greeks have, so many words we've pulled. Latin pulled in some words. So the Anglo-Saxons...
Got a bunch of words for snow from...
from all the Scandinavian groups.
Just remember that fact.
There's the cold snow, the really cold snow, the white snow, the brown snow, the yellow snow. Yeah. Don't eat the yellow snow. I mean, just be safe side, don't eat snow. It's probably not good. I mean, snow cone.
Snow seems fine.
Snow cone.
I have nothing against snow.
I know. Anyway, so we've got this huge succession issue, right? And it's 3 big chunks of land all vying for London, or England. So we've got Harold, and Bill. Harry, and Bill.
Harry, and Bill. Harry.
Harold Godwinson, Harold Hardrada. It's spelled slightly different. It's H-A-R-A-L-D.
Sure. Ooh. That's how you can tell the difference.
Yep.
In the midst of battle.
Harald and Harold.
Okay.
And then there's William. So, at first, Harold and William kind of kick around the idea of doing a co-invasion.
Oh, sure. That sounds fun.
We'll just beat them up and take it over. They don't really discuss who's going to win and who's going to control the country. That's what I got distracted on. So part of William's whole shtick, he said while he was on his trip to England, Edward said, "You get to be king next."
Oh.
That's a huge part of William uses this as a pretext. Well, he said I could be king.
He told me.
He said I was allowed. He said it was mine. Well, did he write it down? No. He couldn't write. He was the confessor. He told people what was going on. He didn't write it. He wasn't Edward the writer. What's wrong with you people? He also got papal permission to do it, with different allegations about like the legality of things, whether it was sanctified, and that he was doing this for God's work, and all this stuff. He covered his rear end. William doing a lot of political preparation, which shows that he's very smart, as well as being very physically capable, because he led from horseback and fought nonstop for almost his entire life.
Oh.
So he's very famous, very well regarded by his people.
This is William. Right?
This is William. Yeah. And then Harold Hardrada is well regarded as like a newborn kind of Vikinger. He's a warrior too, and he's going to reestablish the old, what they called like the North Sea Empire, and that's from Canute, we mentioned, where he had Norway, Denmark, and then England. So he's going to rebuild this empire thing. That's his idea. And then poor Harold Godwinson is just like, I just want to live in England and be the king here. I think it's my time.
Sure.
There's a little more to Harold than all of that, but he's kind of seen as this Anglo-Saxon champion, right?
But basically, we have people coming from up.
Yep.
People coming from down.
Yep.
And the people who are there.
Exactly.
Sitting there.
It's a three-way brawl. And so the Pope at first is like, can we just talk this out? And they're like, no, somebody's gonna die.
Popes always want to talk.
Yep. Stupid Pope. Well, and at the time that was considered the Pope's job. He's the UN. He's the so
He's the cooler head.
I'm not involved arbiter.
Right.
But of course, because he's a man, he can be paid for.
Oh, absolutely.
He can have favors. I mean, it's like we
he's
saw.
From the south.
He's from the south. He's closer to me.
Yeah.
If somebody gets mad at me, well, he can just ride over and hit me in the head.
Yeah.
And at the time, the Normans are traveling all over fighting for everybody. They're really good at fighting, and they don't want to just beat up their neighbors because that makes bad neighbors.
Right.
So
it's
you
not
travel.
as fun either.
You travel.
You get to see the world.
You see the world. Kill interesting people.
Pillage.
Yeah. It's the old, travel the world, meet new people, and kill them.
If you have to.
Take their stuff, and then, buy a kingdom.
So nowadays, when you go to travel, you're like, oh, this is nice. I'm going to buy that thing.
Yeah.
Well, then you go, this is
I'm going to
nice.
have this knick-knack.
I'm going to take that thing.
Yeah. And I'm going to take that thing. Oh, you tried to stop me. Ha! Mine now.
Always bring a sword.
Always bring a sword. And remember, folks, today's episode is also brought to you by Steve's Swords.
Mm-hmm.
You need to stab somebody.
Steve's
sword.
And get yourself a sword caddy while you're at it.
And a sword caddy. And also, if you guys know of any actual sponsors. Because as cool as Steve's Sword sounds, it's not a...
I'm going to know here, Steve's
Swords.
Swords.
Don't steal our ideas. Steve's Swords, they make sword caddies. That's us.
Yeah.
Mike came up with the caddies. Maybe we should change it from Steve's Swords. But I like the alliteration.
That's pretty good. Steve's Sword is good.
I like the alliteration. Yeah. Could be Sven's Swords. Stick with the Sven.
All right. I feel like we're close to the battle.
All right, so the battle's coming. So, William's making all his preparations. Up north, Harold Hardrada's, I'm done with this. He invades England.
Here we go.
Huge army of 10,000
Yikes.
on 200 ships. That's 50 guys on the classic Viking longship. They're all rowing. They're plowing across the sea. And, there's no early warning system. But Harold Godwinson knows this is coming. This is writing on the wall. So he gathers his army. And the way that the English had their armies is they had two big groups. They had the Fyrd, and the Fyrd are like all the landowners. They say, hey, we need to go and fight this thing. It's always for self-defense. It's just for defense.
Okay.
They don't travel fighting.
Do you know why the Fyrd?
Fyrd.
F-E-A-R-D?
F-Y-R-D.
You know where that's from?
No.
Okay.
I don't know Anglo-Saxon well enough, but I could dig into that.
It sounds like...
I think it's like the gathering or the
Okay.
group, something like that.
it sounds like the Fyrd. Like, ooh, I'm afraid of
I'm
them.
afraid. Or maybe it's descended from fjord.
Maybe from fjord.
It is a icy chunk of.
I am gonna write it down as I do
know,
every week.
I do have a magic phone. I could.
No time.
I prefer to have people tell us. So
That
if you
would be
know
great.
the Anglo-Saxon, that's pretty cool. My studying is more obviously
Sure.
a guy whose name I share.
Right.
Because no bias there at all.
Right.
So the Fjord was the gathering of. It was.
Farmers.
You supported, they were largely farmers, but it was kind of built on a similar system to the Romans,
Okay.
where they took all of England, kind of divvied it up into land, and they said, this much land can support a family. For every amount of this land we have, your people have to support one soldier in a time of crisis.
Ah.
So it's not just one family sends out their kid. It could be a couple of families, or a
Sure.
village has to provide, 10, 20 soldiers. The bigger areas supply more men, more weapons, or in lieu of men and weapons, you provide cash.
Yeah.
Anything to support the war effort. So the Fjord gets out, and they're ready to fight. And then the king and several of the wealthier nobles have what's called a huscarl. And a huscarl, it's also called housecarl, huscarl.
But not a hot Carl.
Not a hot Carl.
Don't look that up.
No, you'll get.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. They're
Anyway.
gonna do it.
Sorry.
You said don't do
I
it.
shouldn't
Now
have
they're
even-
gonna do it. You shouldn't
even mentioned
shouldn't
it.
even made the joke.
But it sounded like it.
Nope.
All right.
If you find out your kids are looking this up,
We'll edit this part out.
yeah, we're not gonna. We don't know how to do that. We don't have that technology.
We have the technology. We just don't have the will. But we will.
I think this is an educational. This is all about education, even if it's
There you go.
bad things to avoid. So anyway, the huscarls are like trained from a very young age to just fight. They are the elite fighting force that forms the backbone of the king's army. They wear heavy chainmail armor, a big shield, a sword, probably some kind of throwing weapon, usually a javelin, and then they're really famous for using a big two-handed axe.
Ooh.
So, and they could fight horsemen with these big axes.
Yowza.
Yeah, they were trained to fight like that. So they'd have the shield and the sword to make a shield wall. Because you link up your shield.
Where are they carrying all this stuff?
The back. You got the sword here.
Right there.
They'd have the
Axe on
spear.
the back?
Axe on the back. Probably carry the spear into battle. As the enemy comes towards you, you throw the spear.
That frees up one hand.
Frees up your hand. You draw your sword. Then you're maybe doing this. The guy next to you, he breaks out of the shield wall for a second with his axe.
Okay.
Cleaves into a guy, hides back behind the shield wall. A common thing they do in movies is try to make the shield wall look like an offensive thing. Like, oh, let's link up and make shields and then march towards the enemy.
Yeah.
That was a Roman thing.
Okay.
It's not a Viking thing, and it wasn't a Saxon thing.
Oh.
They did it to receive a charge. Bad guys coming at you, you're like, wall, hide. And then, or if there's a lot of arrows coming in, wall.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like, okay, everybody make shield walls and just walk at each other.
Okay. So then when they're charging, they would just
go.
They
Just go.
Yeah.
And it depends, too. If you have horsemen, if you have special kinds of weapons, it depends where you're coming from. These guys need a lot of room, so you wouldn't want a super tight shield wall to fight because you can't swing your giant
it's hard to swing
axe.
it. Look at it. We tried it in the frame. There's the film.
And we're big guys.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could kill anything like this, even with a big axe. You got to have some space. Otherwise, Big Sven with his big axe.
Sorry.
Whap!
Sorry. There goes the top of your head.
Ooh,
My bad.
sorry. And then Sven gets stabbed.
What if anyone had to learn that lesson the bad way?
I am certain.
Someone did. All right, fellas, we got to spread out a little bit. Spread out.
This isn't working out.
Metal note.
Also key, they always wore a very solid helmet.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
I bet that
Probably.
once found that out the hard way.
I fought next to Sven way too many times. Dude doesn't care where I
Oh,
stand.
he just
He
swings.
just swings that axe, and it's a big axe, and he's a big guy.
He's clonked me more than I don't want to stand next to Sven anymore.
No. And the housecarl is kind of a throwback to the Vikings, because the Vikings, they did this too. They had the housecarls.
Okay.
Because remember, England at this time is kind of a melting pot.
Sounds nice.
Anglo-Saxons, it's the Danes that stayed there.
Yeah.
It's all these different people, and they're actually kind of having an identity. It's not like the Norwegians and the Danes are invading, and all the Norwegians and the Danes who've lived there for a while go, hey, that's our people, let's go fight.
Yeah.
They're like, no, this is our land.
Yeah.
And we killed people to stay here.
Stop messing it up.
And you're ruining it for everybody. And that was a lesson Canute had learned. He like conquered England. He's like, all right, no more raiding. We're not raiding this anymore. We're going to farm. So they're trying to carry this on. So England very much is starting to get this self-identity of we are our own island nation. They've been forging this idea for the past few hundred years of we're working together.
Yeah.
Even though we're all these different people, we're working together. We're the Anglo-Saxons. We're the English. Well, the Vikings invade. They do some damage. And then at Stamford Bridge, it's a very big bridge, that's one of the big crossings to go from northern England to southern England, the Vikings are big on cleanliness.
Okay.
So they've been marching, been killing,
Like raccoons.
stealing stuff. So they all decide to take a bath.
Oh.
10,000 people.
10,000 people.
For some reason,
One river.
For some reason, they don't set up like a lot of guards.
Oh, they all want to take the bath.
They all want to take a bath, and they assume other Harold, Godwinson, the king, is like still down in like the London area.
Oh.
He has force marched the Fyrd, who he gathered really, really fast. He just basically said, "Okay, housecarls, you're with me. We're going north. Everybody send out riders. Get the Fyrd. We're going north." And the Fyrd are like running to catch up and link up with his army as they go. And he didn't do cavalry.
Okay.
The housecarls were foot soldiers. The Fyrd are foot soldiers. They're going. And
There's no way they could catch them with their pants down in the river.
And they totally do. They show up at Stamford Bridge and like, look at all those naked Vikings.
Or
and rather than
did they say, look at all those naked Vikings?
I'm sure some of them did.
Anyway.
If statistics hold true.
You tell us in the comments if you arrive at a river full of 10,000 naked Vikings, what would you say?
Big burly guys just
Lathering each other up?
lathering it up.
They're probably
Hey,
washing each other too.
Hey Bjorn, will you get my back?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh. We've been riding our horses in the water for so long. That's right, just flexing. Rubbing the lie on each other.
Yep.
Or whatever they had.
Whatever they had. But yeah, they were big on cleanliness. So
Okay.
yeah, the Anglo-Saxons, who probably bathe, but I like the idea of just filthy, dirty Anglo-Saxons. Like, what are they doing?
Get them.
They're just jumping in the river like a bunch of morons. And rather than give them a chance to get ready, which would have been the Christian thing to do,
nice.
these are dirty pagan heathen invaders. So the king says, and he charges them. And it is an absolute slaughter.
Mid-bath.
Mid-bath.
I like a bath.
You're just trying to enjoy your bath, right? While you're invading another country. So
Yeah.
time and place, folks. Baths are great. Don't do it if you're invading England, okay?
Right.
Just wait. Wait till you're done. So these Vikings, half of them are like running back to get their armor and their weapons, and some of them are like, take the soap, eat the sponge, and they just get murdered in the river.
Oh. Except the murder part, it is a funny image to me to see a bunch of bare asses running back to a camp. It's cool. I forgot my toe.
It's spooky. The ground's pokey. And they really do. A lot of them just run bare ass naked as fast as they can back to the ships because the choice is I stop and get my crap and probably get a spear in the back from some very angry locals who might be my cousins too because this is near where the Danes settled. Or I just go home.
Yeah.
So of the 200 ships that sailed, they only needed 37 to get everybody back home.
Oh.
That's how many Vikings died. Including...
Quick math, that's more than half.
That's more than half. So including Harold Hardrada, he died at Stamford.
Oh, no.
His household guard. They stand to fight, and they all died. So Godwinson's like, I won! And then he gets news.
We won.
We won.
Good job, everybody.
Good job, everybody. Good job, Fyrd. And then he gets news from the south.
Uh-oh.
So William was planning his invasion at about the same time, but he had to delay for months because the English Channel is renowned for just having the worst weather.
Yeah.
It's just really bad weather. The same thing happened to Julius Caesar when he tried to invade England. And the same thing has happened to multiple invaders. The same thing later would happen to the Spanish Armada. Every time anybody wants to go to England, it's like it's cursed.
Ooh, I don't want to. It was a little tangent, but I want to know about this in general. When do they start doing like weather prediction things, like that were actually useful weather predictions, or was it always like, it's always rainy, just take our chances?
I know that what the Romans would do is they would keep kind of an almanac.
Yeah.
And say this is the weather at this time, and they knew their area from Roman times. And then I think different local peoples had their. I mean, because when Caesar was going to do his invasion, the people said, "Oh no, this is the bad time of year. It's going to be bad." But as far as like looking out into the horizon and being able to tell,
You wouldn't know by day, but you
wouldn't
would
really
know seasonally. It's
you
gonna
know,
be,
seasonally, you might know like, oh well, tomorrow
okay.
it's going to be bad, or the next day it's going to be bad. But once the storm sets in, unless you're outside of the storm, you can't see when it's going away.
Right.
And it's very overcast, very windy, it's very messy. So William's sitting there, and he has done a pretty impressive feat where he basically went to all his friends, he went to all his relatives, he went to every single person who owed him a favor. He went to the Pope. He went to his neighbors to secure that they wouldn't invade his land behind his back.
He did everything.
He went to his king and did a pretty cool thing because he said he treated him like he was his boss.
Okay.
And we already have learned that the norm is like, yeah, you're my boss. Whatever. Fine. William has done some stuff to secure his base. And then he gathers a force to invade. The numbers for the army size kind of vary. Some people have said that something as crazy as like 200,000 invaders. 200,000 invaders. But the most likely is he had maybe 8,000 men.
Oh, that's a big difference.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they wanted to make it sound more heroic.
Oh, sure.
The warriors of England faced 200,000 men. But
Yeah.
William is like, yeah, I got my cousins, and I got his guys, and I got their guys.
Don't get me wrong. 8,000 men running at you is still.
Mm-hmm. And the difference here too is, his men aren't a militia. These are all warriors. They are Norman knights.
Yeah.
They are archers. These are professional foot soldiers. The way the army was split up is half the army was infantry, and then the other half was split evenly between cavalry and archers, which is already way different than the other two armies we saw. The Viking army, all infantry, and Harold's army, all infantry.
Okay.
So William's been prepping this.
About
He's got
variety.
some ships. Yeah, he's got some variety.
Yeah,
He's
that's
got
good to have.
some tactical planning. He's got a lot of experience in warfare, whereas these other guys, their experience is more focused on fighting the exact same kind of people. William's done different stuff. He's dealt with cavalry. He's dealt with amphibious invasions. He's doing all these things.
It's important to diversify.
You got it. It's like a stock market.
Yep.
Diversify your
Gotta keep
portfolio. Diversify your tactics. So William's gathered this army together. He's been waiting for the weather to clear. The weather finally clears.
Nice.
It clears like roughly the same time as the battle at Stamford Bridge. So while Harold Godwinson has gone up to deal with his rival, William's sailing across, finally, with his fleet. Lands his fleet, immediately builds a castle. That's what the Normans did. Now, it was not stone.
Sure.
That would take a while.
It's more of a rough. Outline.
It's
of
an
a castle.
outline of it. There will be a castle. And eventually there was.
Sure.
The Normans were good at that. They were like, well, the one thing to stop the Vikings before was to build forts. We're going to do that, but do it better.
Right.
And that way, if we make our neighbors mad, we can hide in the stone house.
Let's build this. We'll build this castle out of sticks. Nah.
I think
Stones.
I think they're all related to the last pig in the Big Bad Wolf saga.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
like,
Yeah.
they're like, you
Our
gotta
first
go-
castle of straw burned down immediately.
Sucked. This the wooden one,
The wooden one, a little
a
better.
little better.
Burnt
but,
down.
Burnt down. Stone doesn't burn. And wind has just no chance of knocking it
Yeah.
down. This is
So would they bring like builders, or were the soldier people
They did
builders
have
as well?
every army had its like camp followers. Usually it was carpenters, blacksmiths, armor smiths,
Craft services.
craft services tables. Very important when you're
Yeah.
a would be king. You've got to have your entourage.
Yep.
But they did have I think his you have priests. He had his confessor come with him, who is like his number one fanboy and wrote his version of the history.
Oh, sure, that's good to have.
I think it was a cousin of his too.
Well, I'd like to have someone like that
Yeah.
hanging around right by history
Every
for me.
good king had a guy like that. Always had a guy like that. He's just, and unfortunately, yes, it was always a guy. It was
I'm
almost
going to write down,
never-
hire a priest to write my
Yep.
history.
Well, yeah, and back then the priests had, almost every piece of written lore from the time is written by priests.
Yeah.
Almost every bit of writing in England for about 300 years, priests or more actually, priests. So William sails his army across. Harold's up north. He's just fought this army, but as much as it was a slaughter, he lost a lot of guys too. And he already called out the feared, so he's like, don't well, maybe I'll get some more guys on the way back.
But he's kind of out of bullets, as it were.
Yes, he's tired. His guys just fought a major battle.
It's a problem fighting 3 different armies. If you get fight the one,
Right.
still got the other one.
And he didn't have anybody helping him out. He didn't like go to Ireland or the Welsh and say,
you should have stopped by Ireland.
No, he stopped by Ireland.
Or Scotland?
Scotland and Ireland, though, really didn't want any part of that. They're like, we're good.
Okay.
So he marches south then and does the exact same thing he did to get north. And it takes him like...
Catches them while they're bathing?
He tries to.
Oh, okay.
That's his plan.
wait,
Like,
wait for the bathing.
Wait.
Huh?
Oh, Normans don't bathe.
Oh, no.
It's never going to work. Never going to work. Dirty Normans.
Literally.
Why can't you be cleaner like your Viking cousins?
Okay.
Stupid bathe. See, this is why it's dangerous to take baths.
That's right.
Dangerous to take baths.
That's why I love to take baths. I love the danger of it.
Love the danger.
I love to sit in the tub and just
risk.
feel that I might be invaded.
Some dudes... I bet you do, Mike.
That's why I don't have a bathtub.
all-
I'll get a bathtub soon.
Well, now you got your kids out of the house.
Bathtub.
Now you can have a bathtub. Now you can welcome the invasion. You don't have to protect the children anymore.
Right.
You can't risk an invasion when there's kids in the house.
We'll cut all this part out.
So anyway, Harold force marches his army south again. They're beat up, they're tired. They've been doing this for weeks, and they do it in just a few days. So they go from pretty northerly England to like the southeast corner of England where Hastings is.
It is easier. They are going downhill.
The whole thing is south is downhill.
That's how the globe works.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yep.
So they march downhill.
Yep.
To Hastings, to the rough area of Hastings. They're like, this guy already built a castle. He's moving in already. The audacity of this man.
We were gone for a little bit.
Who built a house?
Someone built a house right
Harold's immediately like, I wish my builders worked that fast. I've been trying to get a house built for 6 months. I've been dealing with contractors.
Building
It's a
codes.
mess. It's a mess. I mean, you wanted to get a wall swapped out.
Yeah,
here.
still haven't. That's
Still
taken
haven't.
weeks.
You should have talked to Williams guys.
Yep.
So
I'll go talk to Williams guys.
talk to Williams guys. I mean, they've been dead 1,000 years, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, he's got people.
They got the ancestors.
Sure.
Maybe they carried over the work ethic. Also has a lot to do with the urgency of, we really don't want to get caught with our pants down and we like having forts, so let's build an armored camp. And it also is this big symbol of, we're here to stay.
Yeah.
We are not here to raid.
It's more than a flag.
It's much better than that.
Yeah.
This is not a temporary stay.
Yeah.
This isn't, we pulled our boats up on the shore. It's a lot of them, like, they ripped the boats apart to make walls and stuff.
Oh.
They're like, we're here. We're staying.
in.
And so they've done this, built this fort, and then they see Harold marching south. Like, oh, well, that's impressive. I thought they were fighting the Vikings.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't come here to do nothing. It's like the line in Braveheart. We didn't get dressed up for nothing. Of course, they're not Scottish.
Right. But they're ready to fight.
They didn't get dressed up for nothing. I don't think they're that. I really would love to hear how Normans sounded, because it's got to have that kind of the cool Norse sound and then the cool like medieval French sound mixed together, and it's. This
I bet it would sound like Old English to us, which kind of sounds like gibberish. Yeah.
Might could.
Oh.
So these guys, Harold sees this army. He's like, oh, they have horses.
Horses and loofahs. It look like they've stolen from somebody.
We don't have horses. What are those twangy? Oh, those are bows. We don't have those either. Well, this is going to be a defensive battle. They also have a castle. Everybody get on the hill.
Or the hill. All right.
So they all get on this hill. He has his housecarls kind of splayed out throughout the group, you know, to provide a backbone.
Yep.
The Feared's all ready. The housecarls are all ready. You know, he put like one housecarl, few Feared, housecarl, Feared. Bolster the ranks. He's maybe not in the front because he's got to move around behind the lines, tell everybody what to do. His brothers are there. They're competent warriors, proven themselves for years. They're loyal. They're motivating him. There are some reports that William sent out an entourage to try to parley.
Yeah, let's chalk this over. Let's not do this.
But these guys are coming down off a high of just crushing the Viking invaders that outnumbered them, and they're like, no. Also, dirty invader, go away.
Yeah.
We're not making peace with you, because his peace is like, I'm the king now. Look at me.
I am the king.
I am the king now. So William says, fine. I'm not going to play this game. Let's fight. That's what we
Bring
came
it.
here to do. Let's do this. So now we've got...
combat!
Finish him. And it actually does have kind of that ending.
Oh, really?
So, battle starts out. William's kind of like, oh, well, this sucks. They're on a hill. That kind of changes my plan.
Yeah.
Because his archers are trying to shoot him, but they have to shoot uphill, and it's a very steep hill.
Why did they build a castle so close to a hill?
Well,
Just put the castle
it's
on top of the
actually
hill.
several miles away.
Oh.
So they make it sound like Hastings was like right next to where the battlefield was.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like a 15-mile march.
Oh, that's right. It's in the Battle of Hoary
Apple Tree.
Yeah.
Which now subsequently there's a town there called Battle.
It's a bit on the nose, isn't it? All right.
Good job, England. you got us.
What do we call this place? Well, what happened here? Well, there was a battle. Done.
Done.
Next.
Done. Next.
Let's go over to a river town. What's over there? Is there a river there?
And then I'll try to remember there's a funny thing about this hill after this.
Okay.
That you'll find funny. Because, why would you want to fight somebody on a hill?
Because
you want to pick your spot, right? Especially if you have cavalry and they don't. You want an open field.
Yeah.
And you just ride them down like grass. Well, that's not what happens.
All right.
So his forces are fairly similarly armed to how the Huskarls are. Chainmail, shields, helmets, not the big double axes. They don't typically use that because they like to fight in a closer formation, and it's not good on horseback.
Yeah.
You get this giant thing. So the cavalrymen have like this big kite-shaped shield. It looks like a teardrop, inverted teardrop. They use that. And then they had a lance that had just become like a very popular thing. It was charging with this lance. But it's not good for the kind of fighting. So they have this cool way of fighting they can't use. Charging uphill into a wall of shields.
Ooh, that's got to be tough.
It's not great.
Charging uphill. Folks, give it a try.
Yeah.
Run up a hill.
I don't like walking up a hill.
Yeah, I know. I don't
That's
like
right.
walking upstairs.
I don't like that either. And now try putting on 50 pounds of armor and a shield and a sword and a whatever. And
carrying your horse.
Also, the Huskarls in the field the whole time are throwing crap at you.
Yeah, that's...
Remember, they carry spears and javelins. Yeah. So William says his infantry
easier to throw downhill.
He has his archers shoot at him. And the typical exchange was, my archers shoot at yours and yours are shooting at me. And then my archers can pick up the arrows you shot at me and missed and shoot back.
That's fun.
Get some more ammunition.
Yeah.
There's none coming back. So they only have a little bit of arrows. So they're trying to shoot. They can't really hit them. They're trying to angle it. It's not the right time. Like, they just don't do it for some reason. They do this later.
Can you imagine the archer going back and explaining? I don't know. It's the wrong angle.
Yeah.
Shoot them with the arrows.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't. We're shooting up. So
You're
eventually
fired.
they start going, well, if I shoot higher, I can maybe rain it down.
Yeah. Okay.
But at this point, the Huskarls and the Field are really good at just going,
here's an arrow. Oh, it's coming at a different angle? Got it.
Yep. And they would layer it. You go here, I go here, and then we make a little fort, right? So they're not really worried. So William says, I don't know, this isn't working. Infantry. So infantry go up the hill and immediately are met by like 7,000 or 8,000 guys just going, with a spear.
Yikes.
It's not a great day for William's infantry. They get beat up. So William says, all right, send in the cavalry. And he leads a cavalry charge. Charges in, they beat up some guys, but this shield wall is really solid. The Huskarls are really tough. These people are fighting for their lives, for their homes.
Yeah.
And his cavalry can't really get through it. So there's a discussion about whether he deliberately fell back or his guys just ran because they're like, this is bad. And a chunk of the shield wall breaks off to chase them down. Well, the Normans are fast at recovering and go, they're coming back. Yep. And the cavalry all turn around and rout that little group of guys and kill them all.
Ooh.
So now there's a hole and there's less guys now defending on top of the hill. So William goes, well, that could be exploited. Let's try that again. And at some point during the battle, there's a theory that people think William died. They're like, oh crap! So the whole army starts to waver. Like, no, King's dead. And the guys on the top of the hill, the Anglo-Saxons, we've got the king. So William, whose horse died under, he apparently lost 3 horses under him from charging forward, and the horses would get killed, which means he had to either climb out from under a dead horse, jump off a dying horse, move away at the right time, and then still had to fight his way to safety.
Yeah. 3 times.
3 times.
Unless he was riding 3 horses to start
Unless
with.
3 times. He got really long legs. He
Yeah.
had a chariot, maybe.
Maybe.
It was 3 separate occasions.
So the horse died, but
Horse
he didn't
died.
die.
He didn't die. People think he died. So he gets on another horse, whips his helmet off in the middle of a battle. He's like, "I'm not dead, you idiots!"
That's good.
Charges
That's actually
back.
probably a good idea on the defensive side to just yell out, "We killed their king. We got him," just
Yes.
to demoralize
exactly.
the people.
And
That's
yeah,
the
if you
plan.
can't see what's going on, so that
Yeah.
that actually is what happened. Was they thought he died. They're like, "We killed his horse. We must have got him. We got the guy. He's
Yeah.
dead." And they're because they see this dude go down. He's
Yeah.
kind of a distinct figure. He's a big guy, fancy armor. Well, not fancy, but very well made armor.
You know
Great
who the
kid.
king
And
is.
you follow the guy. As
Yeah.
everybody followed that guy, he's got to be in charge.
Sure.
So they think it got him, and then panic starts to ripple through. So William's like, I'm an experienced fighter. I've seen this 1,000 times. My guys are going to run if they don't see me. So he gets on a horse, rides through the ranks like a crazy person with no helmet on, just, "I'm not dead," and then charges up the hill again.
Wow.
For the rest of the day, and this is fairly early on in the day, they keep doing this tactic now. The Normans have realized if we do a feigned retreat, we'll lure out some of their guys.
Oh, okay.
Send in the cavalry, and it's just this ugly sludge match war of attrition where the cavalry kind of charge in, beat up some guys, run away. Some of the guys chase them. They cut down those guys. And it just goes on for the whole day. Eventually, the archers now, because the shield wall is broken up some, and they're just beating each other up. After the midday break, literally stop for lunch. You have to stop for lunch. You're hungry, they're hungry, so everybody sits down,
It's fair.
takes off their helmet, has a bit of bread, some wine to be like, woo! Charge back up the hill.
Yeah.
This is very difficult on the Norman soldiers. So William changes his tactics again. He's not a stubborn guy. He's like, we're going to do this, but we're going to not be stupid. As his archers arch their shot a little bit.
Okay.
Because now the shield wall isn't protecting it. They're fighting.
Yeah, they're too close.
And this is risky because he could hit his own men. Neither side said he did.
Okay.
So he probably didn't kill a lot of his own guys. It's not like
That's good.
Edward the Longshanks in Braveheart. Yes, we'll kill some of ours, but we'll kill theirs as well. Oh. William's like,
Don't
well,
remember that scene.
I only have so many guys, I don't want to kill my men.
Yeah.
And one of them manages to hit King Harold Godwinson in the eye.
Ooh.
So he's, come on, guys! And it doesn't kill him right away.
Okay.
There's some versions of it where it just killed him. But in the Bayeux Tapestry, which is this very famous, very long tapestry that was woven after the battle, is kind of an historical record. And there are a few other versions of this, but the idea is that Harold gets hit in the eye while fighting in the shield wall. He's going toe-to-toe with people. He's on foot. He's been doing this all day. He's the warrior king. His brothers are with him. They either died earlier on in the day, so he's just like, no, not quitting. No matter what happens, my brothers died here, I die here too. I either die or I win.
Right.
Stands up, fights, gets hit in the eye, and either fights on for a little bit before getting killed, with a mortal wound.
Really killed?
Stabbed, dead. Or he just goes down and never gets back up again. But either way, the death of the king breaks the army eventually, and they're just like, nope, had enough. All right, we've been doing this all day. We're very tired. This is very scary. We leave. Well, they run away, and now it's the cavalry's turn to play. So they chase down this army. They kill a lot of people. And the theory is that Harold lost half of his forces. William lost a quarter of his. The numbers are all kind of shifty because we had that whole, some were 200,000, some were 50,000. But the average guess is there were about 20,000 people on the field of battle that day, between 15 and 20,000, split between both armies. And William basically annihilates their nobility. Because most of the Huscarls don't live. They stand fast, fight with their king, and die. That's kind of what they sworn to do.
Good.
So now, William is the undisputed winner of this battle. He's killed the king. He killed the king's brothers. He's killed all of these important nobles. And he doesn't have to worry about the Norsemen coming in because their king's dead.
Pre-solved.
Problems take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And now William goes about and spends the rest of the year from October. By December, he's crowned king.
Of what?
all of England
All
and
of
Normandy.
England.
So
And-
why this is important is because the immediate effect of it is William, first of all, takes that stupid hill and he levels it out and builds a church on top of it.
This hill drove me
This
nuts.
Hill sucks. So he makes it less steep.
Okay.
So it's much easier to go up to the site of the Abbey nowadays.
Oh, that's
It's like,
it.
this is dumb. I feel like part of it was out of spite.
Quite a
Not just to build an abbey.
This
on
hill
it.
was
This
such a
is
pain to climb.
stupid. I lost my favorite horse, my second favorite horse, and my third favorite horse.
Horse I didn't even know.
And Jim's horse, this is crap. So he levels the hill a little bit, builds a church. And then he spends the rest of the year basically beating up anybody who tries to resist him, besieging castles, building new castles, and forcing his nobility to kind of rule over all of England.
Ah.
By the time everything's done, 2% of the nobility are Anglo-Saxons, or 2% of the land is owned by the original Saxons, even though they're the majority, and the rest is owned by the Normans.
Oh.
He kind of sets up a very tyrannical setup that is extremely effective. He sets up taxes. He sets up levies. He makes the Scots very angry because he devastates northern England because they made him mad. Like, this is a ruthless guy. He's not this benevolent dictator type. He's not doing. He's out for blood, and he's also here to stay. And he's learned from so many people who've done this before. So he replaces all the nobility. But then, what's interesting is they almost all marry Saxon women.
Oh.
The Saxon women preserve their heritage. They teach their children English as well as French. So England becomes this weird country where peasants all speak Anglo-Saxon, the ruling class all speak French, and the clergy all speak Latin.
Oh.
So they all start learning this. Plus you've got the Welsh who speak their language,
Yeah.
and you've got the Irish who speak theirs, and also a lot of them speak Danish, because the Danes control part of Ireland. So it's this kind of a weird conglomerate, and over the coming years, it starts to forge itself into this cultural identity that becomes modern England, where they take certain ideas of how they run the countries, how the Normans do things. And the Normans, it keeps happening in England where the conquerors just kind of get absorbed by the culture. It takes a while.
Yeah, once you set up a good culture,
But
doesn't matter who
they
takes
do.
over.
They conquered it. They married this, and I really give a lot of credit. I hadn't thought about this as much, but the Saxon women saved the day because most of the men are dead.
Yeah.
William was very ruthless in his battles, and if you did not bend the knee, you died or got turned into a peasant. He did that to a lot of families. But the noble women were smarter about it and played the long game. They bore the children, and then they raised the children. And they raised them to have their culture intact. And so it carried on that the Normans kind of blended into the Saxon culture, and they became this Norman, Anglo-Saxon, and eventually English culture.
There we
It's a really important part of their identity. And then later on down the road, we run into all sorts of problems with Normandy being in France, the English kings having a problem with that and thinking they should maybe be in charge of France, and that leads to more wars and more chaos. But it's a really interesting battle because it's only a few thousand people, and it was such a big deal and had a huge lasting effect.
Defined the culture moving forward.
Right. So from then on, we go from Old English. We eventually get Middle English,
Yep.
which is kind of a hodgepodge of the Norman with the Anglo-Saxon languages, and yeah, it's a really interesting thing. But at no point should we go, oh, well, William Conqueror, he was a good guy. This isn't a Charlemagne type.
Right.
He's a conqueror.
Just a
He
conqueror.
wasn't William the Good.
He
He was not William the Nice, William the Patient, William the Respectable. He was
William the Effective.
William the, yes, terribly effective. Very effective guy.
Well,
So,
we have run out of
we're
time.
out of time.
Let's cover what we've learned. We learned not to take a bath at an inopportune time.
That is a key. If you could learn one thing, that's
Yeah, exactly.
really important.
And then that women will save the day, ultimately. That's what I learned.
Yep.
That's what I picked
They
up.
keep our heritage intact. That's a
They
huge thing.
learned plenty.
Yeah.
right.
And then next week we're going to talk about the Battle of Sekigahara.
Sekigahara, you sure on the
Sekigahara.
pronunciation of that?
Almost 98% sure, but with me being not Japanese,
There may be a noise that we're
there's
missing,
some
actually,
I could
probably.
be missing part of the
Sure.
thing. I again do not pretend to be one of these I know more about Japanese culture than the Japanese do type of
I
people.
don't know who that person is. but
I've
that's-
met people
yeah.
like that. It's very annoying.
We are not that people.
We're not that people, but we are going to talk about I felt like it was a good thing to change from Europe
Yep.
and all the wars to Japan and all the
Yes,
wars.
I know very little about Asian history, so that's great.
Eventually, we'll try to do not wars,
That would be nice.
but
too.
the majority of all these big events are battle thing. And this is a really important battle. We'll find out why it matters. Who cares? Why is it a big deal? What's the legacy of it? And it'll be nice to talk about a slightly different culture.
Yeah.
Maybe learn something about some people. I will try to keep the names relatively simple.
That's fine. Hey, do what you gotta do.
Some of them are real crazy, hard to pronounce, but
It's just for us.
the characters involved with it, this reads like a storybook.
Oh, that's
It's
exciting.
very interesting. It's very interesting.
So that will be on Thursday, the 21st at 3 o'clock.
Back to our
Central
regular time. I'm never going on a trip again.
That's right. No, you do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Blame my brother.
We hope you tune in. If you already commented, we'll try to look at these comments.
Yep.
We didn't during the things. Looks like
Yep.
there's
And then
some-
next week we'll do kind of an and actually or well actually again. We'll do
Yeah.
a better well actually again.
yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
So thank you for those who watched and those who didn't watch.
Watch next time. They're not hearing this anyway.
We'll see you on the 21st.
Bye guys.